Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Comic Art Live. What a great weekend and a great chance to catch up with a lot of great creators and have great opportunities to buy some of their incredible art pieces as well. John Siuntres here from the Word Balloon Podcast. Really excited to talk to our two next guests. First, I want to introduce the colorist of the series cover and a great collaborator with our other guest. It's Orzu. Welcome, Zu. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Hi
I'm
everyone.
I'm an admirer of your work. I've really enjoyed your collaborations with our other big guests that we've got. This is one of my buddies that we go way back, and I love his art. I love his writing. The creator of Kabuki, the co-creator of the new Jinx World Series cover with Brian Bendis, and it's a book that I know he and Zu collaborate on. And they're also doing a lot of television collaboration in recent years as well. It's David Mack, everybody. Brian Bendis, and it's
hey John.
I know. There we go. And they're also doing a lot of television. I don't know. I'm hearing a delay in my head. I don't know where that's.
I have a delay. Like, hey John.
So can you use your earbuds, David, instead of your speaker? I'm hearing a delay in my head.
Is that what it is? Is it for me?
I think so. Hold on one second. I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you while you. There you go. Excellent. Yeah, David's gonna get his headset on. Zu, I'm going to talk to you. How did your collaboration with David begin?
He introduced me to Brian Bendis like a couple of years ago. He knew of my work and he's seen like the stuff that I've done, and I guess he liked it.
Okay.
And from there, like he was asking if I was interested in this, doing some digital coloring for this book with him and Brian Bendis, and I couldn't say no, right? So that's how it all began. And we're all really good friends, and Brian is a lovely person, lovely collaborator, and really supportive. And so is David. David's always been very encouraging towards my work and what I've been doing, and really supporting me in the industry and really pushing me to like go further. And yeah, it's been amazing for me as an artist is just trying to break through into the industry to be able to have all these opportunities with all these huge names. I still can't believe it at times.
Well, honestly, I've seen your Instagram, and let's tell people where they can find you on Instagram, because you post such lovely pieces, painted pieces. Absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure looking at it, and also your cover work as well. But yeah, tell us how can people find you on Instagram?
On Instagram, you just look for me, Zu Orzu. I think you can see my name there, but it's all together. So you can just
sure. Okay, well, there you go. ZUOZORZU. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's great. No, it's great, and truly, I really, it's interesting. And when David reconnects, we'll talk about this. I love your collaboration with your colors and David's art, because unlike some of David's other books, there's a sparseness to what you bring to the book with your colors, and I really like it. It's a very minimalist collaboration between the two of you that gives a starkness to the book, and
So John actually froze. So while he's coming, I will.
Well, the Instagram link is without the it's double R right now. By the way.
Okay. I'll go ahead and fix that.
It's fine. Yeah.
So as soon as David gets back, so just one R, correct?
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Good. So tell us about like how you started in the whole industry.
I didn't really, unlike a lot of comic artists out there, I wouldn't say that, I'm like such a big, huge fan of comics or whatever. I started from fine arts and traditional media. And then when I was in university, I did more digital painting and more digital media. And then I guess, I see comics as like a form of it's just a different type of medium. So, for me, it's just like as long as I can experiment and do art and, do something that is different or, contribute my artistic process into some, into creating something, then I'm fine. Yeah. And then I kind of fell in love with the medium, like once I started getting to know more about how how stories and how art and how everything visual and everything narrative, they can be mixed together in such a effective way of doing storytelling. So
I think we have David back. David, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm back, but I'm still hearing the 2 tracks of voices on top of each other.
Okay, do you have a YouTube opened up by chance? Is there an additional tab open up? Or do you only have one tab open?
It's no, it's just one.
Okay, so here, why don't you just leave the studio and then come back in, and it should fix itself. Okay, well, Zoo, it's just me and you, so.
all right. That's cool.
I apologize, I didn't have any questions prepared. David.
No worries. Yeah.
Sounds okay. He'll be back here in a second. But so do you have any pieces around you that you want to show to anybody? And
I'll be happy to show one of my latest project, I guess, is this the Endless portfolio I don't know if the viewers or you guys know, but we are represented by Kirby's comic art.
Is that good? Is that good now, David?
No, it's the same. I only have the one tab open, so when I turned it off, all the voices disappeared, but when I turned it back on.
Is that good now, David?
No, it's the same.
Give me 1 second. I'll jump out. Let me look at the.
All the voices disappeared, but when I turned.
All right, sorry about that, Zoo. Bill, I'm gonna actually have you tag in for me. Is that okay? This is Bill. This is Bill from Comic Art.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Zoo. How are you?
He's putting on the host. I'm gonna try to help David in the background. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, very good, Zoo. Thank you. I guess we're having lots of technical problems today. There are big storms around us as well, so I've had the power taken out 2 times today. Yes, yeah. And John, who was doing the interview with you, he lives pretty close to me, so he's been having the same challenges today.
Oh yeah.
So hey, it looks like your work is selling really well during the show. I'm really happy. I think that's
Thank
fantastic.
you very much, Will. Yeah, it's it's very different, I guess, having it online and having like I do miss meeting with people like face to face, obviously. It's very different. But I can't really complain about how this is all working out in terms of having connections still being active through online fan shows and comic art like you guys are hosting right now. It's fantastic.
Well, for me, it's just a different way to kind of get people together when we can't have conventions. And Annabelle has been fantastic as far as helping us out. Yeah, she's
the best.
Yes, she absolutely is. And I have never met her, unfortunately. We have emailed a lot though, so no, she's been very gracious as far as helping us put together the panels, and she's brought a lot of nice artwork, and I know that she's enjoyed doing it. So but yeah, I just love your work. I've always.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much.
It's absolutely beautiful, and
I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh.
There, yeah. I assume,
That's I have the actual piece right here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was gonna show full screen. Yep, there we go. See, there it is. Wow.
Some embroidery details, and you can see the back is always the fun part.
Right. That is so unique.
Thank you.
I have never seen anything quite like that. But, so is that all watercolors?
This is mixed media. So I have like acrylic, colored pencils, watercolor, all sorts of stuff. And I like to use there's this medium that I really like is clear gesso. So basically, I like to put that on. It's basically like a medium which enables me to without. Usually, you have opaque acrylic, but this is like transparent, so it gives a bit of like gritty texture to it, which is really fun to work on.
Right.
So,
it gives you a good base.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So it actually gets heavier and heavier as I start, layering things, and especially with the embroidery as well, it really gets quite hefty piece of paper at the end of it.
When you do the embroidery, is that always like the last step in the process?
Yes, it's often the last step, but that would be interesting to think about if I could have the embroidery first and then maybe have like a layer of paint over it would be something that I've thought about as well. So just something to experiment in the future. Lots of things, in my head.
No, it's very unique, but no, I've always admired your work, but that was always the interesting approach to it that I
really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful, especially for Annabelle for helping us set this up, and also for you guys for hosting us, and having me and David right here and talking to the guys from Comic Art Fans. It's pretty cool.
Oh, and speaking of David.
Hi, David.
Hey. Yeah, that sounds great now.
It does.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
well, I'm glad we got that figured out.
Yeah, we've had a few technical problems today, but it's always a learning process for us. But David, it's been many years since I actually saw you. You used to go to like the show in Pittsburgh, and I live in Northeast Ohio, so I would see you there every year, and it's probably been at least 10 years since I've been to that show, maybe even longer.
That sounds about right. I think the last time I did that show was around 2010.
Yep, that's about the last time I went. Sorry, Chad. Chad, of course, is from Pittsburgh, so.
Oh, cool.
That's all I had to show. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that was a really fun convention. I started doing it, I think, in 1995. And then I think I remember the last time was 2010 because I did like the first day of the show and I had a Supergirl cover due, which I think I did in 2010. And it wasn't due until the end of the week. And then while I was at the show, the editor emailed me and said, no, actually, we need it like Monday. And I was like, well, I'm already in Pittsburgh. And so I had to leave early. I had to skip the second day of the show to go do the cover and turn it in.
Yeah, oh, that's crazy. But yeah, it was a good show. I miss shows like that. We don't have enough shows of that size where you never felt overwhelmed by the number of fans that were there, and all the guests always got good attention. I remember George Perez was always at that show, and I saw Sal Buscema there a few times. So I miss being able to go to smaller shows like that, and I guess we all miss going to shows nowadays. But
Zoo and I had a lot of overseas shows planned this year with Kirby's Comics Art, which I should give a shout out to, who kind of arranged this for us. She's Annabelle Kirby is our art dealer, and she arranged this for us. And we had the show in Lake Como Comic-Con set up in May. And then from there, we were going to take a train to go to Basel, Switzerland for Fantasy Basel for the following week. And from there, we were going to go to London for the show there. We had so many, we had the Singapore show scheduled, the Tokyo Comic-Con, which I think would either be this month or early next month. So we had so many things scheduled, and it was just like rolling cancellations, all throughout the year.
Right. No, that's. I was thinking of going to the Lake Como show too, because I've been always close with Steve Morger. He and I used to be part owners of the Big Wow Comic Fest in San Jose for a number of years with Frank Cho.
Oh, no kidding! I always wanted to go to that. I heard great things about Big Wow.
Yeah, that was a good time. Big Wow was a great show. It was comparable, in many ways to the Heroes show. As far as just a very artist-centric show. That was why they brought me in as a partner, because they knew that I had a good reputation with collectors and artists and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun. And I've never gotten, I know Como's, I think only done 2 shows before they got canceled. But
we were there last year. This would have been their 3rd that was canceled.
Well, fingers crossed that they can actually have the show again in May. I know they have a date set for it, but things are so sketchy still. I mean, I'm expecting us not to really have too many shows, until 2022. The way things are shaping up, unfortunately.
Well, I'm still hopeful. I'm still going to plan for the 21 show. I really hope we can go back to Como in 21 And yeah, I should give Steve Morger a shout out in that show. It was just incredible. It's right on the lake. It's in this incredible historical building, and it was just like such a great show for like collectors of art and fans of artists. It was a joy. I really hope we can go back to it.
Yeah, no, Steve knows how to put on a good show. Big Wow was always fun. He literally, anybody that would stay for Monday, he took them out to like Travis wife's winery. And so we would, so yeah, he really knows how to entertain. So did you get to go last year, Zoo, to the show?
Yeah, the Lake Como was actually my very first show with Kirby's comic art.
Oh, very cool.
It's just been a great adventure since.
Yeah, that's when Kirby's comic art started. That was the first thing we both did with Kirby's comics art.
Kirby's, yeah.
She invited me, and then I recommended Zoo, and she saw Zoo's work like on her Instagram and loved it. And immediately she invited Zoo to come also. And I guess I should remind that right now for Comic Art Live, Kirby's Comics Art has like brand new art of Zoo's and mine being offered right now. So people are watching this, they can click on the Kirby's Comic Art site and see, that's where we make available, our original art and prints and so on.
Isn't I think if I read her last PR email, I think that she's actually doing some kind of an art drop, probably with an hour
at
from
5,
now.
I think,
At 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
No. Annabelle's great because I watched how she kind of piggybacked with I don't remember if San Diego or not, but like with the New York show, just trying to wrap her marketing around other comic events that weren't happening or that were happening only virtually. And then she worked really well with me, just pitching ideas on what we may or may not want to do and helping me with bringing both of you together for this panel. So no, Annabelle's great. She's a very, very forward thinking art rep. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I'm glad that you got to work with her.
Yeah, no. She's, I love all the art reps I work with, but she was absolutely phenomenal. And, and the thing is, it's all of her mailings. Like she promotes the Como show. She promotes, she goes out of her way. It's not, she doesn't make everything about just Kirby's, right? And all the people she reps. So I appreciate that. So, I'm kind of stepping in to fill in for John until he figures out what it's, but so I don't know what you guys spoke about earlier, but current projects that you're both working on. Can you fill me in a bit on what's on the drawing tables right now or what you're writing?
Yeah, well, as far as like Zoo and I together, most people might know of our work together from the series called Cover of DC Comics, with both of us and Bendis working on it. And Bill Sienkiewicz, our friends Bill Sienkiewicz and Mike Oeming did a couple scenes of art for it also. But primarily it was a creator-owned series from Bendis and I, and Zoo colored a lot of my art pages for it, and she contributed the variant cover to the first issue. I did all the regular covers, and we had like a different guest cover artist for each issue. Jim Lee did one, Sienkiewicz, Mitch Gerards, Nick Darrington. But it was cool that Zoo got the very first issue variant cover. So as far as people knowing our work together, the collection of that is out right now, and that book got 3 Eisner nominations this year, including best graphic novel, best cover art, and best painter. And we're working on the next story for that. And in the meantime, Zoo and I are also doing like painting a lot of different covers for different projects too. Zoo, did you get to say to John some of the things you're working on already when I was gone to start?
Yeah, I was talking about there was the Endless portfolio that I was showing this piece for, and they have actually sold out they was in collaboration with in association with the show that was happening this weekend, and Annabelle had this idea of me doing a series of not a series, but my previous work on the Endless characters. She wanted to put it in a portfolio and wanted to have that available for the weekend, and I think it sold out in a day. So really happy about that. Thank you to everyone who supported us in that venture. also one of my current projects is also for Boom Studios. I'm doing variant retailer variants for them for the series Something is Killing the Children. I think that's one of their really popular title right now. So I've actually had a couple of covers out for that series as well.
Very nice. I did see that. I think this morning she had, when Annabelle sent out some PR, she said that there were only a couple left. And as far as the portfolio went, the Sandman thing, and it's sold out, like you said, within 24 hours. That was fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats, Zoo.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Bill.
No, that's gotta feel great, because
because it's amazing. I think people are the support and the encouragement that I've been getting, through Kirby's and also obviously from Annabelle, have been really unbelievable. I'm really grateful for every kind word, just people saying hi and like how they they like my work, or just a lot of positive vibes in this year, which are you don't think you need it, but when you get it, it's really nice. Yeah.
No, I completely get it. Trust me, I've worked on the comic art site for years and never really get any pats on the back. You never know you're doing something well. And then with COVID and me doing all these things in person, it's like all of a sudden everybody's happy to tell me that, yeah, you've been doing a great job for 18 years. So go ahead.
Did you notice that especially this year? I feel like people wanting artwork in general, but especially like original artwork, like it's like an extra ray of joy in their lives this year, even more so than normal.
Absolutely. No, I've been seeing more people just, writing longer descriptions on their art about how happy they are with it, buying directly from the artist or from the rep. You could just tell there's something that makes them really happy. And that's what separates our hobby, collecting original art versus comics or sports cards. I mean, there's a different joy about owning original artwork. It's not just a toy or something, of a superhero. It's when you're owning something. I collect artwork because I love the work and I love the people who create it, and it's just I don't know. And like you just said, in the last year, since we've been dealing with all these challenges, I think that it's something that can bring joy, to people that they're just not getting in their daily lives. And I think, and maybe it's funny you say that. Like I said, the people telling me that CAF's been good, it's like maybe they've always felt that way, but until now they need to express themselves. It's like the opportunity now. It's like, yeah, all right, you did a good job. And so it's the same thing. It's so gratifying to get.
I really think that like the site in general, but particularly now, I think it brings like a lot of joy to people's lives. And it's something like very, very personal and intimate, and congratulations. I think thanks for doing this, and thanks for doing all that you do.
No, I appreciate it. It's a labor of love. I've always looked at it like that, and I did it just to kind of get to know people. I started collecting art, and people didn't really have any ways to share their collections and stuff. And so I thought, well, I'm a web developer. I'll do this. It'll be my way of making them get to know me.
That's awesome.
Are you behind comic art fans from the beginning? Is that your brainchild?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're the main guy of it.
Well, my wife does all the programming. I do the front end stuff. She's the brains. I couldn't. I won't even say I could program the stuff that she does. But I go to her and I pitch her on ideas on things that I'd like, and she executes them for me. So. But yeah, no, we built it, but we built it for fun. And again, it's because art needs to be shared, right? And it's not like, museums are there for fine art, but there really wasn't anything for comic art. I think we're seeing comic art and illustration art really find their ways into museums now, and really getting the respect that it deserves. But it's 18. CAF will be 18 years old in February. So, but at that point, nobody was really, there wasn't anything out there for people who collected illustration art to show it off. And you knew the moment CAF was out there, people loved to be able to show.
They love to show it and talk about it and get like the comments. I love seeing the comments about it, where people are like, "Oh, what a great gem you found! That's amazing."
Right. Exactly. I mean, art. That's why I love art. You know, I went to school to be an artist. I could because I wanted to draw comics, but I was never that good. And so this was like my way of getting to kind of give back to the hobby that I wanted to be participating in, and get to hang out with the guys and gals who are doing the work. And so yeah, no, it's been fun. And again, it's been great to be able to work with people like Annabelle, because you know you can tell their passion for the hobby and the effort that they want to put into working with their, you know, they want to do a good job for the people they represent.
Yeah, Kirby's comics art is great for us because Annabelle she's just such a big fan too, you know, probably like you. Like she's doing this just because she loves seeing all this original art pass through her hands. And she likes, like, you know, making the collectors happy, and like the people who do the commissions, she loves seeing how happy they are. But she also just really enjoys like getting this firsthand point of view from the artists she works with, and seeing like all of the art directly come to her, and she gets to look at each and every piece. You know?
I think she gets such a kick out of that, like getting like the shipment from, you know, artists, you know, every other week or something, and then like but then, you know, I think she gets sad having to send them off immediately.
and like this year in particular, I would say Zoo and I, you know, we obviously we lost the avenue of the face-to-face and the conventions and the signings, but as far as like online commissions through Kirby's and online art sales through Kirby's and like long-time collectors, you know, I've had over the years, I would say I've probably sold more original art this year than maybe any other year. I'm guessing you too, Zoo.
I guess so.
And not only that, I would say I've also bought more art this year than every year.
Well, you've had a little bit extra funds, but you know, I really attribute to that's the fact that because we don't have cons, everybody's, you know, so they're not spending their money at shows, and that's giving them the opportunity to spend more online, and maybe they're just feeling a little, you know, they're not traveling, so all the things that might hold them back from being able to spend more money. I mean, you know, going to San Diego, you know, it's hotel's $500 a night. It's a $500 or $600 flight. You know, your art budget gets compressed, and now everybody's staying home, so now their art budget's a little bit more. You know, you're not spending money on gas, you know, or anything, and you can spend more. You know, in a weird way, it's actually helped us all, right? We can buy more art.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, there's a lot of other things to consider and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if I would say it helped totally, but it's also really nice, like when you're staying at home, because normally we'd be traveling so much, it's hard to like schedule mailing things and having things mailed to you. But when you're locked at home, what a joy it is to have like a piece of original art show up, you know, at your home, you know, and you get to look forward to it and, you know, open it and check it out. And I think a lot of collectors are enjoying that. And I have been too. I've probably been like trading more stuff too than usual. That's kind of like a fun thing to do now, you know, trade a piece of my art for another piece of original art, you know, that I'm looking for.
With another artist or with a collector?
Sometimes with another artist, but often with collectors. When we did Lake Como Comic-Con last year, there were art dealers there, and they came to my table and were like, hey, you know, what about if, you know, we offer you this piece we have and for, you know, something of yours. And, you know, I didn't expect it, but like I ended up getting like some really cool trades, you know. I got like an original Kirby and an original Frazetta last year at Como. And then since then I've been buying and trading for more like Jack Kirby original art. I got some Steve Ditko pieces this year.
Cool.
More Frazetta pieces. I might have 11 different Frazetta originals, but it got, you know, once I got started by, you know, a couple trades here and there, then I got, you know, I really enjoy, you know, like trading stuff and buying stuff and having it, you know, shipped to me.
Well, that's 11 more Frazettas than I have. Sorry to say, I always look, but I'm like, I don't have, you know, I don't have the trade or the cash usually to buy it, but you know, I think.
Well, let me quantify. These are like prelims, you know,
like the pencil sketch, you know. Yeah.
You know,
oh no, I would love to own those. You know, I mean, anything. Or
yeah, these aren't you know, $5 million
right.
oil pieces.
Well, the smaller pieces aren't cheap either. You know, it's.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know, that's interesting with your expertise. I thought maybe I should ask you about this. You know, some of the pieces I have are from some of his famous paintings, but they're smaller. They might be like a watercolor wash with pencil, but you know, it's all there and it's beautiful. But it is one of the famous pieces, and so I don't even know how they value that. You know, is that like, do you value that as a certain percentage of the value of the larger finished one? Does it connect that way? Are they related to each other that way, or not?
Well, I mean, if it's a prelim to one of his finished paintings that, you know, that people are really well aware of, there'll always be, I don't know, I guess a markup for that versus something like maybe he's just penciling a barbarian or a lion or something. You know, those pieces might be a little less. But no, it's I mean, I've seen a lot of. I can envision what you're talking about. A lightly penciled piece with this watercolor, just kind of figuring out the tonal pieces of the painting. But no, those go for, you know, decent money. I mean, if you ever were curious, you just go on to Heritage's site. You know, they have a great deep resource of all of their past sales. And if you just type in Frazetta prelim into their past auction results, you get a good feeling for what they go for. But no, they, you know, depending on what it is, they do really well.
I love like prelim work in general like that. I feel like when I look at like an original Frazetta prelim like that, you know, I feel like I get smarter just looking at it. Like you get a sense of the thought behind it and how he figured things out. And so a lot of the work I collect, I kind of like some of the process stage of it, you know, to learn from.
Without question. I mean, because your work is really painterly already. So do you find yourself, when you're doing the trades or the buys, more drawn to painterly pieces versus pen and ink? I mean, you mentioned Kirby though too. So
yeah, I have about I love the Kirby stuff. I have like 3 original Ditko pages, and I guess I have about 5 original Frazetta pages. And so, you know, I love, in general, I'm attracted to like an artist that just has like a really unique point of view and just something that they're kind of contributing to the language and grammar of the art form and comics in general. But that said, yeah, I do like a lot of painterly people. You know, I have several originals of Bill Sienkiewicz, Kent Williams. When we were in Lake Como, I bought several pieces from Dave McKean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but remember Zoo? We were at Dave McKean's table for a while, looking through all his stuff, and he did an original piece that he just gave to me, which was amazing. It was like he asked to keep it overnight, and he brought it, and it was like this great kabuki piece, really large and just really incredibly beautiful that he gave, which was an amazing gem. And I ended up, you know, getting maybe like, you know, 5 other pieces or something that were, and those weren't painted; they were all inked pieces, but they were just like so meticulously and lovingly inked in such a unique way. You know, you feel like you're learning something just looking at it.
I'd love to see it. If you ever have a scan of it, shoot me an email of it. I'll make sure Annabelle, passes it. I would love to see it, because when I think of Dave's work, I always think of more not pen and ink. Yeah, more painterly. But Zoo, do you collect original art at all, or do you pick up anything?
I'm very, my collection is not as extensive as you guys, obviously, but I have started actually. So I do have some choice pieces, and Bill Sienkiewicz actually gave me a really nice drawing from when I was in Como as well. There was as a gift, and it's one of my most precious original art. And I actually have some ink drawings from David as well. He did some panda drawings that I really, really like. And yeah, just, and I've bought a few, but, not as many, but I really like looking at, I really like thinking ahead and thinking of oh, maybe I'll do an art trade with this person. How do I approach that? I think that's the fun of being kind of the creator in this industry. So I have some really nice bits in my collection at the moment, and I'm hoping to. I don't think I bought a lot this year, but maybe time to save up for the next year. And at actual cons would be the shopping experience at a con is always the most fun part of it as well. So yeah.
So kind of changing the topic. So where are you at right now working with Bendis on the follow-up to that? Is it, I haven't done, I didn't talk with Annabelle a lot about it, but, at what stage, is that project?
Yeah. I don't know what the exact schedule is going to be on it, but the plan was for it to come out in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And behind the scenes with that too, we've again, I'll let, I don't know if I can announce some of this stuff, but Bendis and I were working on having it adapted to a TV series as well. So earlier this year, before all the lockdown, Bendis and I, we did like a lot of in-person meetings and pitches with a variety of different television studios that were really interested in the first series we did of it, with ideas for Bendis to write the series and for myself to direct. And I'll try to have Zoo involved in some way as well. But there's been like a lot of behind the scenes progress with that, and hopefully we'll have, I'll let Brian announce stuff soon if we have something announced about that soon. And hopefully we'll be able to announce like when the next comic series will come out of it. But we were super excited that it got some recognition, for the Eisners. And It was kind of, I was doing covers for a while. So this series was kind of my return to doing full interior art on a monthly series, which I haven't done that on a monthly for a while. And one of the reasons for that is the series itself. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's based on, so the last few years I've been overseas quite a bit. I travel for the State Department, which is one of the reasons it's a lot easier for me just to do covers like when I'm traveling so often, versus, doing like all the full interior art, especially to a monthly book, is a really immersive process. So, last year I was like in 12 different countries. And Zoo was with me in North Africa, and then I was in like the former Soviet areas. And then I do some stuff with the U.S. Embassy and State Department in Singapore when I'm there. We were there last November and December. And a lot of what I experienced being overseas with the State Department for like the last few years found its way right into the story. And it was really cool for people to not really know what the series, they weren't sure what the angle or tone of this was going to be, but it seemed like people really connected to it.
No, that's, I didn't realize that you traveled like that for work.
Yeah, well, I should say like beginning in the former administration, I started doing that. And last few years especially, was overseas quite a bit for it, and a lot of it went right into the story.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and then having like I said, I was in like 12 different countries last year, so I'll work out ideas when I'm on the plane, and I'll do covers overnight at the hotel room, while in the daytime I'm teaching in like UNHCR camps or refugee camps or youth prisons. Or in North Africa, we were in Tunisia, where the agenda was, we went to the border areas. The agenda, it's right next to Libya, and there were some extremist groups in Libya trying to recruit young people to their extremist groups. So the agenda for the State Department was to interact with at-risk youth on the border areas and make them less susceptible to recruitment from extremists. So they drove Zoo and I around in like a bulletproof SUV, and we went to all kinds of different places in the border areas of Tunisia, sometimes teaching at art schools, sometimes teaching at universities, but sometimes teaching at just a variety. Like when I was in the former Soviet areas, it was, I was in the country of Georgia, which is right between Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. It's near Turkey and Iran. So it's right where Asia and Europe kind of meet, and you have all this really interesting intersection. And so we would go to like the border areas of Armenia or Azerbaijani, and you would have they would speak different languages there. They would give me different interpreters based on where we were at the borders. And we taught at the the School for the Deaf in Tunisia, and the one in Georgia, and the one in Singapore, and Zoo was there too in Singapore. So it's just been like a whirlwind of all these experiences, and this book for me was a way to kind of my laboratory to make sense of some of the things I was doing and kind of funnel and integrate it into the story. And you know, we had no idea how people would react to this kind of story, but it seemed to find, you know, some people who were interested in it.
So when you were traveling a lot, I can see why covers were, you know, more easier to tackle. But you know, how is that making the transition to doing a lot of interiors after going, you know, from doing covers for a certain amount of time, then having to switch to do that? And was it a challenge?
It was a challenge. It was a challenge mostly because when we first got the word that we were going to do this, you know, Bendis had just moved to DC, and he said he's going to have a line of books in which he does creator-owned books. And I remember we were at C2E2, which I think was like April 2018, maybe. And he said, okay, we're going to do this project. We had actually been working on another project for years. And I told him about this experience that I had there was this event that happened in Libya, which was like often when I do State Department stuff, it's like very publicly State Department, like they're showing their inclusivity to the minorities in the border areas and so on. But this was something that they call non-branded, which they didn't want people to know that the embassy or the State Department was involved in, so that people attending it didn't face like some kind of recriminations from, you know, the militia in power. And it had like it became news. Like it got raided by one of the militia groups, and people were in prison. And it became like a thing where behind the scenes I was trying to information and names I would pass on to my contacts at the State Department, or I also do work for PEN America, and I would pass it on to them. So hopefully they could talk to their connections in the UN and have get some kind of legal advocacy for the people who were taken. And a couple of them were diabetic, so they needed medical issues and so on too. So I was telling Bendis about this story, and he was like, hey, that other project we were working on, let's do that sometime in the future. Let's do this, like what you just told me, let's make that a story. And I was like, oh, okay, thinking sometime in the future. But we ended up, you know, we were talking about this in, say, you know, April, and he said, oh, we're gonna, you know, this has got to go out this year. And I was like, wow, you know, there's no script, there's no contract. When, you know, what do you mean this year? Maybe by December? He was like, no, the first issue is gonna come out in September. And, you know, none of us had started anything. There was no negotiations or business contract or anything. And so the real challenge was every issue was just like, we have this, you know, we have maybe 3 weeks to do the issue or something. Mm-hmm. But we just kind of leaned into it and rolled with it and thought like, you know, we'll just find a way to make it work. And Zoo was game for it. You know, I would be sending her pages, and she, like, some pages I would paint and other pages I would do in ink, and then Zoo would do the coloring for. And we just jammed on it, and it just became like a very, I don't want to say like, you know, just a very direct, you know, a direct interaction to like what comics meant to all of us, you know, again, and we just jammed in it, and it was a blast.
And I assume you weren't really traveling for those 3 weeks, right? You were hunkered down.
Well, yes, sometimes, yeah. Zoo and I ended up staying like a lot of different places where we're working on like some of the early issues of Cover. So sometimes we were together working on it, and sometimes I would be sending her, you know, scans and photos, you know, for her to color while we were going. But yeah, that's the thing. There was already a lot of stuff going on when Bendis said like, hey, we're going to solicit this for the first issue is going to come out in September. So there were several other things that I had to keep up with at the same time, but you know, we made it work, you know.
Sure. Now, is this Bendis's MO? I've actually never spoken to him before. Does he just kind of roll with what his gut feels is the right thing to do and just charges for it?
You know, yeah, maybe in a sense. This might have been somewhat of an unusual situation, but Bendis and I have we've been best friends since 1993. Back then, we were both working for Caliber Comics that we met at. I don't know if you remember Caliber.
Oh, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
we met at their table in Chicago in 1993. We each had a creator-owned book out, and we were next to each other, and we immediately like just connected and started working together. At the time, I was writing the Kabuki series, and I was looking for an artist to draw it. And at the time, Bendis was making a living as a penciler. He had a whole bunch of penciling gigs, and he decided he was going to be the artist for Kabuki early on. And he also got me a job as his inker, like the first day I met him. So we worked as a penciler inker team for like in the early 1990s, with this idea that he was eventually gonna do the art for Kabuki as well.
Wow.
I ended up kind of tricking myself into doing it eventually, but yeah, all those, yeah. So we'd sort of seen each other, grow up, and we're behind the scenes, sharing our work with each other all these years. So when we finally did some projects for Marvel together, it was kind of, we looked at it as kind of like we're finally doing a project worthy of our friendship, but we had never done a creator-owned series together, which is what Cover became for all this.
Wow. It's I know Zoo's typing. It
Yeah,
seems like it's
so happy. Yeah,
it's a
saying hi to everyone in the chat right now.
It's like a Kirby's comic art party in the chat room.
How come I'm not seeing any of these chats?
If you look
I had it on private chat and not comments.
Yep. Yeah. You flip it on comments because if there was
okay,
I could basically highlight any of the comments. I thought about highlighting a few, but then I was like,
cool.
Let them keep chatting over there.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. I missed all the comments. Zoo's been taking
Everyone's
up.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
So Zoo, what was it like doing the coloring for that? I mean, it sounds like, David, you colored some pieces, but other pieces you handed off to Zoo to do that. There's some similarities, I guess, in your painterly styles, but I mean, how did you approach coloring David's work for that?
Okay, so it was an interesting. I think it was an interesting process that we had to figure out together. I think because obviously with if people have seen the book, the artwork in it. Like David has the painterly things, on some pages, but mostly it's this, ink drawings that he is really good at it. And so it's all more simplified. And I think because we wanted the narrative and the storytelling to go through a bit more. So that was the focus. We didn't want it to be dampened or to be too weighty or weight down with the art and stuff. So it was a matter of trying to find a balance of how to make sure that the ink process, the ink drawings are still shown through, and then so we decided to go with like the more flat coloring and more subtle colors instead of, overly textured or overly painted look to the pages themselves. I'm so sorry. It's 6 a.m. here, so I'm unable to get my.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, let me add.
I hope that came true.
That was beautiful. That was excellent. We're gonna transcribe that into print. That's how we're gonna describe it.
Maybe interpret it done.
Let me add also is that we leaned into the contrast. We were looking for like a contrast of styles from different scenes, because there's like a surface story, but the main character is the main characters are comic book creators, and each of them have their own creator-owned books. So sometimes it'll cut back and forth to the style of their creator-owned books to the style of the surface story. And so it lends itself well to, using contrasting styles, So some of it's painted and some of it's colored with flat colors. And I get to do different styles for different books myself. And then there was another artist, when he did his book, we had Bill Sienkiewicz do his pages. And then another artist, his work, Mike Oming, did his pages. But it was fun because I got to do a whole bunch of different styles. We got to try different coloring experiences, matching them up together. And the story's about a comic creator who gets who ends up kind of traveling for. He gets the attention of some intelligence services, and they find a way to make what he does useful for their designs. And so fun and mayhem ensues. But there's some great odes to Jack Kirby, and there's a couple lines people often quote or use as memes from it. What's called the Jack Kirby scene in the story.
So did you kind of, in coming up with the different styles, or did you like look for inspiration from a Ditko or a Kirby or something like that when you were trying to do something different?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, not in the way where we're trying to make it look like a Ditko or a Kirby, but yeah, there's one in particular where I'm not trying to make it look like Mobius, but it is like informed by Mobius or informed by Sergio Topi, or often informed by other international artists. So there's none of them where we try to make it look like a certain person exactly, but the whole series is very much like a love letter to the history of comics and the history of other artists throughout the years.
Well, I'm embarrassed that I haven't read it, and I'm going to have to now.
Oh, you'll get a kick out of it.
I mean, I've seen, I've read about it, but I haven't read the book. So
if you get a chance,
this sounds fantastic. Okay.
Get the trade, because like we put like a little introduction, a little forward in it about the origins of the story as well, and the history with all of us, and what kind of made its way, what kind of informed and inspired the story too.
Well, with the history you have with Bendis, I mean, that makes it all the more interesting, having met when you were young, and you're writing a story about a creator and other creators. I mean, that sounds really cool.
Match it up, like you could match it up as like, oh, that's the Bendis character, and that, and that's the me character, and that's in the book he does. Maybe that's correlates to like me doing the Kabuki series when I was younger, or you could match up different characters in the story somewhat loosely to rule. It's fun for us to see the readers
what their take is. Casey Brooke asked, was the Kirby pencil in the story real? So I don't know what that is, but that's a question for you.
Oh yeah. So that's I'm so happy with that ending, the way it came together. I don't want to say any spoilers.
No, don't. I'll be upset.
Okay, but okay, yeah. I just won't say anything to that. I'll leave the mystery out there.
Okay, good. Well,
but
that's the one question I had to pick out from the crowd. Yeah, it's sorry, I was just trying to read through some of the things, but yes, it's nice to have the Kirby crew here. Casey.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, Casey Parsons.
Yeah, he was on the a panel yesterday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the sketch panel, that was really fun.
That was, that was the one panel I was worried about, and it was like one of the easiest, most fun, laid back experiences I think we've had. With this being the second time we've done this, and I hope we do more of those, because it was good. It was just very, very easy chatting with everybody. I didn't have to run that panel, but I watched Mark Walters, who's helped me run a couple of the panels, and I was like, man, that was like the easiest panel to do, because you're just talking about drawing and art and shoot.
Yeah. Bill, where are you at right now, by the way? Where are you broadcasting live from? I
am in Northeast Ohio, so about 30 minutes. That's why I went to Pittsburgh all the time. I'm about 30 minutes southeast of Cleveland. So,
oh, great. Yeah, at the time, Bendis lived in Cleveland, and I lived in Cincinnati. So I would like drive up to Cleveland and pick him up, and then go to those shows like in Michigan, or all those Detroit shows. Well, I'm in Venice Beach, California right now.
Oh, that's a lot nicer than it is here, I bet, right?
It's a sunny day today. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Well, that's so Cincinnati, huh? That's well, that makes sense though. But I knew Bendis was out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
There aren't too many comic shops or comic geeks in the Cleveland area, but it was always nice to know that we had Bendis coming out of Cleveland. Because I grew up in Brunswick, which is about 30 minutes south of Cleveland. So, we never seemed to really have any cool guys come out of here. And then Bendis kind of he made me feel like, all right.
Siegel and Schuster from Cleveland too, right?
Well, yeah, but that's much earlier for me. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking
Harvey Pekar was there when Bendis was.
Yes, he was. Gosh, who was the other underground artist? I mean, we've had a lot of great talented people. It's just not anybody like modern wise that I was like, but I do know a few other artists. I'm saying that and I'll probably get a lot of people mad at me. There's a few other Clevelanders.
Well, I've actually noticed, like, traveling around, like a lot of times, like when I'm in Los Angeles, you'll find out that like a lot of the people here who are also, people who are successful artists or doing something interesting, a lot of them end up being from like Ohio or Kentucky or, and
right.
Have traveled around. And
it's funny. It's like a running joke for us when I do these comic art live chats every Tuesday and Thursday. And I think 50% of the art collector guests that I've had on are from Ohio. They're usually from like Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland. And it's just surprising how many art collectors are here. So it makes sense. We've got, there is a lot of creators that are coming out of Ohio and people who are buying artwork. It's just funny. I would never think it. But we've even been asked to like do a show, like a brick and mortar show sometime with something, because you have the major comic art or illustration art museum at Ohio State, and apparently they're going to be doing the that Marvel traveling show that has a lot of art in it.
Yeah, I have some work in that.
Okay, well, it's actually going to be in Columbus at the start of, I think, in about a year.
Oh,
and
great!
So I was thinking, 12, 14 months from now, maybe trying, hopefully COVID's passed. I think it would be great to try to organize a weekend event with artists and collectors to not only visit the show, but the museum, maybe have a dinner, just do not like a formal like con. I don't want anybody drawn, but it would be really fun to kind of get together, see both of those, both the show and the museum in Ohio State. Wouldn't it be fun? Just, very informal. So
I saw the one in that they had in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Museum, and they had invited us to like all of them. We were traveling a lot though, but I went to that one on the opening night. Some of my artwork for I don't know if you know this. You remember Captain America: The Winter Soldier film?
Yeah.
I did the artwork for the main titles of that film, where at the end it's all the stark black and white shots. I don't know if you remember it, or at the end. So some of the pieces I did for that are in the show, along with some Jessica Jones stuff.
I think that's what, for me, and I knew that about, that you had worked in film too. I think that's one of the cool things about you. You're really involved in many different aspects of art, not just in the printed comic, but you've done all these other cool things too. I mean,
that reminds me, I should say, like, Zoo and I worked together on some of that stuff too. I also worked on the opening titles for Jessica Jones, and we got nominated for an Emmy for that. And I ended up directing several music videos. And Zoo helped animate and was the editor on one of the music videos I did. It was for Dashboard Confessional. It's called We Fight. If anyone wants to, you can just go on YouTube and press in We Fight, or put my name in it with Dashboard, and you can see.
I'm writing that down right now.
Okay, great. Yeah. It was actually, I was on a flight from Japan to Singapore, and it's like a 7-hour flight. And the guy next to me, I didn't know, happened to be the lead singer for Dashboard Confessional. And he started talking to me, and he had one of his songs was in one of the Spider-Man film, and he was talking to me. I found out like he was like a big comic book guy. His name is Chris Caraba. Okay. And we ended up being next to each other for the 7-hour flight from Japan to Singapore. And he was showing me all the stuff on his phone, all the stuff he's working on, and like all the like comic book stuff he loves. And so I pulled out like my phone. And at the time I was doing a music video for Amanda Palmer, and I was filming it all in stop motion, where I would like put things 3-dimensionally and then like take a photo and then move it and take a photo. So I had all these photos. I showed him on my phone of behind the scenes. And at the end of the plane ride, he goes, "Oh, we're doing this, we're doing this show in Singapore. You should come to it." And I was like, "I'm doing this convention in Singapore." But he goes, "But you should direct our next music video." So he said at the end of the plane ride. So I thought, maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe 2 years from now. And we ended up, Zoo and I ended up meeting up with him in Singapore. And just like a week later, I got an email from his record company that said, "Okay, so we understand that you're the director for the new music video, and we need it in 30 days."
It sounds like the way Bendis approached you. About There's no contract. We're just doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and it worked out. Yeah, they said we need it in 30 days, and then I just had to I had to make like a chart of here's the real stuff I have to I have to do in 30 days. Here's the stuff I can leave out in order to do this, and kind of reverse engineer time-wise backwards what I need to do immediately. So I kind of like hired myself as the director. I hired myself to do the artwork for it. I hired Zoo to do like all the stuff I don't know how to do. All the, she has a master's in animation also. So she understands all the technical details about how to get everything to match up and what programs to use and so on. So I hired her to do that part, and we worked together on it.
I'm basically the technical guy.
There's nothing wrong with being the technical guy.
No, not at all.
Or, no, well, that's, I mean, when I first started doing internet work, 25 years ago, I got into doing a lot of animation, and I knew that, but it was fun. I love multimedia, and, I love being, that's what it interests me, a lot about the both of you, even more than, now that I know it, is the fact that you're very diverse and you like those kind of challenges. I mean, I didn't know that you would have directed videos like that, or that you would be, so involved in, in animation as well. That's, I don't know. I love that. And that's what, that's what's really cool about technology today, and just where we're at, is that, you can dip your hands into so many different things. You can be a writer over here, or you can be an artist over here. You can be director over here. And as long as you got good creative people, around you, you can almost do anything, so no, that's amazing. I mean, so you plan to do more, you think?
Yeah. I should say this too. People can also, Neil Gaiman was sharing this lately. I did the art for a video for Pen America with Neil Gaiman. It's Leonard Cohen, his song Democracy, and Neil does the vocals to it, and Amanda Palmer does the piano to it, and I do the artwork to it. You could just go to YouTube and put in any of those names, put in my name and Gaiman, or Democracy, or Leonard Cohen, and you can see that video. And there's 2 other Amanda Palmer videos you can look up on YouTube that I direct. Just put in like Amanda Palmer, David Mack, Dashboard, David Mack, Neil Gaiman, David Mack. You can see all those videos. But speaking of Neil Gaiman, it's cool. Zoo mentioned her endless portfolio. That's a lot of the covers I've been doing lately are for the new series from Neil Gaiman, Norse Mythology. Mm-hmm. I do a cover for every issue of that. And I guess I think the 3rd issue come out? Maybe only the 2nd issue has come out yet. But I guess I've done, close to 15 of the covers so far. And I did all the covers for his series, American Gods. And also a cover that I don't think has been shown yet for like their big giant hardbound volume with a casing and stuff. So I'm excited for people to see those. And there's a couple of things coming out this week for Marvel Comics. There's a series called Marvel Voices, Indigenous Voices, and it includes this character called Echo that I created when I was writing Daredevil, over 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And this character has been around for a while, but she's going to be in this. So I did one cover with an Echo cover, comes out this Wednesday, and another cover I did with this character called Kushala. I actually have a bunch of the art right here. I could show you the this is the original to the Kushala cover that comes out Wednesday. And I don't have the Echo cover here, but Kirby's comics art sold that original already. So
well, that's cool. I always tell people I can't own any art with a skull on it because my wife won't let me. So yeah. So that would be one piece that I could never have. But no, that's cool. I mean, any other current projects that we want to talk about before we sign off?
What I'm working on right now is a cover to The Doors are doing a new comic book called Morrison Hotel. Leah Moore is writing it. Alan Moore's daughter is writing it all, and there's a variety of different artists involved in it, like some amazing ones, Colleen Doran. And so far, I'm working on the cover to that today. That's what I'm working on. So maybe I could give you like a sneak peek of it. It's going to look very different, but this is an early stage of it so far. But
wow, nice, very nice. Nobody saw that.
Yeah.
And Zoo, what about you? I mean, obviously you finished up the portfolio, but what are you working on next?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, I'm working on some more covers for Boom Studios with the retailer for like Cape Comics retailer. Yeah, for Something is Killing the Children. So I still have a couple more on that front coming up. So look out for that in terms of my cover work. And there are some more in the process. So yeah, once that, I will, and Annabelle will take care of like promoting it and everything. So don't forget to follow Kirby's comic art on your socials. And
and the new art drop is, I think, coming like
coming up, maybe right about now.
It's probably, I was gonna say, it's 5:07, so it's probably out there. So definitely hit up kirbyscomicart.com for that. And there's probably still a few originals left in her booth in Comic Art Live too. I know we have just under 5 hours left of the show as well. So thank you both. I really appreciate it. And, I'm glad you kind of toughed it out with the technical problems we had, or, getting going here. But it was really nice chatting with you both. And David, I'll definitely, if I ever do, if I try to do some kind of a get together, it would be really cool if, if there was some way that we might be able to, have you come out for that. Because it would be, especially if you still work in the show. I know the pieces that are in the show are kind of, change with each one. It's in Detroit now. And I forget, it's going to like Chicago, and then it's coming to Cleveland. And then, so I'm sure things will change, but it would be cool if you did have some pieces in there, if we were able to get you to come out for just an art gathering. It'd be a lot of fun.
That sounds great. Yeah, count me in for that. And it's great to connect with you, Bill, and get to know you a little bit here too.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate it, David, Zoo, again, and thank you for everybody, including everybody at Kirby's Comic Art that was tuned in. It definitely made the stream a lot of fun. And again, thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.